Welcome back to High Stakes, where we help you elevate your betting strategy. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button to stay updated with our daily content. Looking for exclusive access to premium betting picks? Join us on Patreon. Links are available in the comments section below. Stay ahead of the game with High Stakes. The Miami Dolphins. A team that started the season with promise and now finds itself clinging to playoff hopes that are more theoretical than practical. Sitting ninth in the AFC standings, Miami has to win out and simultaneously pray that the Broncos and Colts stumble. It's like trying to solve a Rubik's Cube while blindfolded. Possible, but not likely. And let's not forget Tua Tagovailoa, who's listed as doubtful with a hip injury. Apparently, the Dolphins' postseason dreams hinge on backup plans, wishful thinking, and a whole lot of rain-soaked football. Meanwhile, the Cleveland Browns are the NFL equivalent of a Shakespearean tragedy. Losing Deshaun Watson to an Achilles tear, they turned to Jameis Winston, who brought drama, memes, and a sprinkle of hope, only for that hope to crash and burn faster than a Manziel comeback headline. Now, with a 3-12 record, they're in the running for the NFL's saddest consolation prize, the first overall draft pick. Sunday's game, instead of a frosty clash of contenders, is shaping up to be a soggy mess between a playoff long shot and a team fighting for draft glory. And yes, weather will be the real MVP here. Rain and wind might neutralize Miami's high-octane passing game, so don't expect a fireworks show, more like a game of which team can fumble less. Prediction: Cleveland Browns plus 6.5 points. Let's be real. Miami doesn't do well when the weather takes a turn for the worse, and Cleveland's defense, led by Myles Garrett, is ready to pounce on any mistakes. Add in Nick Chubb grinding out yardage and the Browns' offensive line keeping things steady, and you've got a recipe for a close game. Prediction: under 39.5 points. Rain, wind, slippery footballs, and struggling kickers. This game is practically begging for a low-scoring snooze fest. Miami's deep threats will be neutralized, Cleveland's defense will clamp down, and we'll all be left wondering why we didn't just watch highlights of better games. All right, buckle up for this soggy showdown between the Miami Dolphins and Cleveland Browns. Let's talk game props, because if you're putting money on this mess, you're either a genius or just love the chaos of betting on wet football. Game props. First half total points, under 19.5. The first half will be a glorious experiment in how many ways two teams can screw up in 30 minutes. Fumbles? Check. Missed field goals? Double check. A pick six because someone slipped mid-throw? Why not? This first half won't just be low scoring. It'll be a case study in futility. Longest field goal made, under 44.5 yards. Kicking in this weather is like trying to throw a dart in a wind tunnel. If someone even attempts a 45-yarder, they're either wildly overconfident or desperately trolling their own fans. Spoiler alert, it's going to miss. Short kicks are the only safe option, and even those might look like they're being taken from the moon. Total turnovers, over 2.5. Wet footballs, rookie quarterbacks, and defenses that smell blood. This is a turnover buffet. Whether it's a tipped pass, a fumble, or a strip sack, the ball's going to be changing hands like it's a game of hot potato. Honestly, this might be the safest prop of the game. Team props: Cleveland Browns, over 150 rushing yards. Let's be real, the Cleveland Browns' game plan in this matchup is about as subtle as a sledgehammer. They're not even going to pretend they have a balanced offense. The moment they step on the field, they're handing the ball to Nick Chubb like it's a family heirloom they don't trust anyone else to hold. Chubb is going to be the offense's workhorse, show pony, and plow mule all rolled into one, barreling down the field like he's got somewhere better to be. But Chubb won't have to shoulder the load entirely solo. Jerome Ford, the guy who always seems to show up when no one's looking, will likely carve out a few respectable carries of his own. Think of him as the Robin to Chubb's Batman. He's not the star, but he's getting his moments. Throw in the occasional quarterback scramble, because let's face it, when the passing game inevitably collapses, running for dear life is the only option. And you've got a rushing total that's practically begging to hit 150 yards. The math here is simple. Cleveland doesn't trust its passing game, and honestly, neither should you. Dorian Thompson-Robinson under center is a dice roll at best, and the Browns know it. The weather? Oh, it's just the perfect excuse for Cleveland to lean even harder on their ground game. With the rain coming down and the ball slipping out of everyone's hands, the Browns will avoid passing like it's a dangerous experiment. And let's not ignore the matchup. Miami's run defense is softer than a marshmallow left in the sun. If you're looking for a unit that's going to stop the Browns' rushing attack, this isn't it. They're the NFL equivalent of an open-door policy. Come on in, run all over us, make yourself at home. Chubb and company are going to exploit that weakness like it's their job because, well, it kind of is. So, 150-plus rushing yards? It's not just a prop bet, it's a prophecy. Whether it's Chubb busting through the line for chunk plays, Ford sneaking in some yardage on the side, or even a wildcat formation just to spice things up, Cleveland is going to pound the rock until Miami waves the white flag. You might as well lock this one in because the Browns are about to turn this game into a run-heavy spectacle that'll make old-school football fans shed a single, nostalgic tear. Miami Dolphins, over 2.5 team sacks. Let's call it what it is. Dorian Thompson-Robinson, DTR, is walking into a buzzsaw disguised as the Miami Dolphins defensive line. The poor guy might as well have "Sack Me" stitched across his jersey. Sure, the Browns' offensive line has its moments. They're decent in run blocking and can hold up for a few seconds in pass protection. But decent isn't going to cut it against a Miami pass rush that's out for blood. The Dolphins' front seven is like a pack of sharks circling a leaky boat. They smell the inexperience dripping off Dieter and can't wait to capitalize. Let's be honest, he's still figuring out how to play at this level, and that learning curve looks more like a free fall when you've got Bradley Chubb and Christian Wilkins breathing down your neck. Miami's pass rush isn't here to play nice. They're here to pad their stats and make a highlight reel out of Cleveland's QB struggles. And let's not forget the situation. The Browns' playbook is going to revolve around the run game, but eventually, they'll be forced to throw, either because they're trailing or because someone upstairs thought it would be a good idea to test Miami's secondary. That's when the Dolphins' pass rush kicks it up a notch. DTR's scrambling abilities might buy him some time, but more often than not, those frantic scurries lead to sacks, not miracles. Here's the kicker. Even if Cleveland's offensive line does its best impression of a brick wall, it won't matter. DTR's decision-making under pressure is as questionable as leaving your keys in the ignition in a bad neighborhood. He's prone to holding onto the ball too long, running into his own blockers, or, worst of all, making panic throws that could easily turn into strip sacks. And let's talk about the weather. Rain, wind, and a slippery ball. Perfect conditions for defensive linemen to pin their ears back and get after the quarterback. The Browns will try to dink and dunk their way out of trouble, but Miami's defense won't be fooled. Once Cleveland's predictable passing game kicks in, the Dolphins will be ready to feast. Over 2.5 sacks isn't just a prediction, it's a mercy line. The Dolphins' pass rush might hit this number by halftime if DTR has one of his deer-in-the-headlights performances. Even if the Browns manage to scrape together some sort of offensive rhythm, the odds of Miami's relentless defense hitting this over are as close to a lock as you'll find. Expect sack dances, a frustrated DTR, and plenty of screen time for Miami's defensive line celebrating in the backfield. First team to score, Cleveland Browns. Let's face it, betting on the Browns to score first feels about as surprising as finding rain in Cleveland on a Sunday afternoon. It's practically baked into the city's DNA. Here's how it'll play out. Cleveland's going to grab the ball, shove it into Nick Chubb's hands, and methodically march down the field with the finesse of a bulldozer. It won't be flashy, it won't be fast, but it'll get the job done, probably ending in a field goal because this is Cleveland, and touchdowns aren't their forte. Meanwhile, Miami's offense will likely start the game as if they're still at the airport, trying to figure out what to do with this wet and windy Cleveland weather. Tua and company might be explosive in ideal conditions, but soggy turf and cold air have a way of turning their high-octane attack into a sputtering jalopy. You can almost picture it now. A couple of awkward incompletions, a poorly timed sack, and a quick punt back to the Browns. Cleveland's opening drive, on the other hand, is predictable in the best and most boring way possible. They'll rely on Chubb to churn out yards like a factory assembly line, with Ford sprinkled in for a change of pace. And let's be real, Kevin Stefanski isn't drawing up any wild trick plays or deep bombs to Amari Cooper here. He's sticking to what works, running the clock, and hoping his team can scrape together enough momentum to avoid total embarrassment. Miami's defense might hold the line for a bit, but with Cleveland's ground and pound approach, they'll probably give up a big gain or two. Maybe it's a Nick Chubb rumble through a collapsing line or a sneaky run from the quarterback when everyone expects the handoff. Either way, the Browns are going to find themselves in scoring position. From there, it's all about execution, and let's just say Cade York is going to earn his paycheck early. The real kicker, pun intended, is how predictable this whole sequence is. Miami's offense needs time to adjust, and their defense, while solid, isn't built to handle Cleveland's clock-draining run game right out of the gate. By the time Miami realizes they're in a game, Cleveland will already have 3 points on the board, and the Browns fans will be too busy celebrating their brief moment of superiority to notice how the rest of the game unfolds. So, yeah, Cleveland scoring first isn't just a good bet. It's practically a foregone conclusion. The Browns will do what they do best: grind out a drive, chew up some clock, and put up an uninspiring but effective field goal to start the game. It's the perfect setup for Miami to play catch-up, but for those first few minutes, Cleveland will reign supreme. And that's a wrap on today's video, folks. I'm sure you're absolutely on the edge of your seat, eagerly awaiting the next thrilling installment of this channel. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, because clearly you don't want to miss any of our daily videos. I mean, who could live without them? And while you're at it, smash that notification bell, so you can be the first to know when we drop more gems like this. Oh, and if you're looking for some premium picks, because, let's be honest, who isn't? Join our Patreon. It's where the real magic happens. Premium picks, insider info, and possibly even some mildly entertaining banter. So, hit that link, and we'll see you on the inside. Until next time, enjoy the game, make those bets, and remember, you're welcome.